Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome back. I hope you had a great week celebrating the 4th of July. We left off in 1 Kings 13 last week, and I had told you could read ahead to find out what happened. Do you remember what the water had to do with our story? Yeah, if you remember, way back a week ago, the man of God was told he couldn't stop and eat or drink, and he had to go a different route home in order to obey what God had told him to do. So King Jeroboam had invited him for dinner. He did not go. He said he had to return home. Well, verse 11 in 1 Kings 13 says, "Now there dwelt an old prophet in Bethel, and his sons came and told him all the works that the man of God had done that day in Bethel. The words which he had spoken unto the king, them they told also to their father." So there were some sons who saw what took place with Jeroboam and his withered hand from last week. They saw what had taken place. And so they went and told their dad, they're like, "Hey, you're a prophet. Guess what happened?" And they start to tell him all the details. They fill him in on what happened. So the dad says, the old prophet says, "Well, what direction did the man go? I want to go find him. Which way?" So he asked his sons, he says, "All right, go saddle a donkey, and I'm going to go find this prophet. I want to go talk to this man of God." In verse 14, it says, "And went after the man of God, and found him sitting under an oak. And he said unto him, Art thou the man of God that camest from Judah? And he said, I am." So he finds him sitting under the tree. He talks to him. He's like, "Oh yeah, this is the right guy. This is the man." The old prophet asks the man of God to come home with him and to eat bread. He says, "Come home with me. Come eat bread with me." Well, what was the man of God told? He was told not to do it. Don't eat bread. Don't drink water. Just go home and go a different way. So the man of God says he can't. He explains what God told him. But then let's look at verse 18. He said unto him, "I am a prophet also, as thou art. And an angel spake unto me by the word of the Lord, saying, Bring him back with thee into thine house, that he may eat bread and drink water. But he lied unto him." The old prophet goes to the man of God and he tells him, "Come back. An angel told me you can. I got word from the Lord. You can. This is okay." Is he going to follow? Is the man of God going to follow, or is he going to obey? Verse 19, "So he went back with him and did eat bread in his house and drank water." He believed the man. He believed that old prophet. Instead of obeying what God had told him to do, he believed the old prophet and he went back with him. Boys and girls, do you think God's going to be like, "Oh, that's okay, you got deceived"? Do you think God's going to give him a pass and be like, "Well, I guess just one meal's okay"? No, God's not going to be okay with it. While they were eating, the word of the Lord came to the old prophet. So God comes in and he gives a message to him. Verse 21 says, "And he cried unto the man of God that came from Judah, saying, Thus saith the Lord, for as much as thou hast disobeyed the mouth of the Lord, and hast not kept the commandment which the Lord thy God commanded thee, but camest back and hast eaten bread and drunk water in the place of which the Lord did say to thee, Eat no bread and drink no water. Thy carcass shall not come upon the sepulchre of thy fathers." Because he disobeyed, he's going to die. So the man who had deceived him, the man who tricked him, gets a message from God and then looks at him and says, "You're going to die." Yet he was the man who lied to him. But God had given a specific command to the man of God and he hadn't obeyed it. He had let somebody persuade him. He had let somebody lead him astray. So he goes, he has dinner with him, and the punishment is he's not going to make it alive back home. He's going to die in the way. After they ate and drank, the old prophet had a donkey saddled up for him, for the man of God, so he could leave. Verse 24, "And when he was gone, a lion met him by the way and slew him. And his carcass was cast in the way, and the donkey stood by it. The lion also stood by the carcass." On his way home, he gets slain by a lion. Now, the lion doesn't actually eat him up. He leaves the body right there. And as some travelers are passing by, they see the lion, the donkey, and the carcass. And it's kind of odd because the lion's just standing there. It hasn't eaten the donkey and it hasn't eaten the body of the man either. Well, they see this and they're marveling at that. They go back to the town. They start talking about it. You see something strange. You tell somebody who tells somebody else who tells somebody else. And word got back to that old prophet, and he knew exactly what had happened. So he saddles another donkey, goes out, gets the carcass of the man of God, brings it back home with that other donkey. Verse 28 says, "And he went and found his carcass cast in the way, and the donkey and the lion standing by the carcass. The lion had not eaten the carcass, nor torn the donkey." So he brings the man home, has him buried in his own burial site, and the people mourn for the loss of this man of God. Obedience is important. Boys and girls, obedience is extremely important to God. He doesn't want other people to lead us astray. He wants us to know what his word says, and he wants us to obey it. The end of this chapter, the last two verses just kind of point out that Jeroboam is still in sin. So we talked about the prophet today and not Jeroboam, but I just wanted to put, even though from last week he had his hand withered and he saw the power of God, Jeroboam doesn't turn away from his false worship. He's still worshiping false gods. Verse 34, "And this thing became sin unto the house of Jeroboam, even to cut it off and to destroy it from off the face of the earth." Next week, we're going to talk about what's going to happen with Jeroboam and the end of